So I'm in the process of setting up Credo, and it's a pain in the ass, I'll tell you that much. First thing, shuffling all these little cards is not easy. They're really hard to manipulate, and probably the best way to do it is to mash them out on the table, but I don't like to do that anyway. I end up cutting them into lots of tiny decks and doing all kind of trying to, not really sort shuffling, but little overhands, and they don't really slide into each other at all well. Horrible, horrible components for that. Now, the other thing is you've got 3 decks you've got to shuffle at the beginning of the game after digging out these 2 cards. Then you have to deal, and dealing is almost impossible without a finger cot or something, and I don't have any right now. 3 events each, no biggie there. These decks, each person gets their share of that deck. So each of these piles is the same size, presumably. I just smoothed them out on the table. There's no way I want to try to, deal that many cards. It was hard enough dealing 9 of these. I don't know if I've got 9 to each player. I'll fix that where I can. Now, there's one more thing remaining. Players aren't allowed to look at these yet. They shouldn't have been dealt yet, but I like to take care of as much as I can before I start videoing. Then they're going to look at these and figure out which ones apply, which ones they want to keep. Any remainders that they can't keep, that aren't duplicates of what they already have, get tossed in here. And then these 2 decks have to be mixed thoroughly. Another shuffling endeavor, which is a pain in the royal ass. So let's take a look at our first player here and what he's going to choose. And he can't look at these, remember. But he has a number of different choices. So he sorts his different articles by number. Looks like he has a good mix. Which may be good, may be bad. It's hard to tell. Okay. Now he has some forced conditions. First of all, if you have an Article 1, you must take it. And you must put it in your Articles of Faith. I have an Article 1 and 2. So I can't use my Orthodox Article 2. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good. So this is essentially going to be in my discard pile. So I'm going to be stuck with this dualism. I believe in 2 gods, 1 God, maker of all things unseen and invisible, 1 evil, maker of all things visible and corrupt. Okay. And these will be face down at this stage in the game until everybody makes their selection, but I'm not going to worry about it. Now, I've got other choices here. And it's hard to tell which you want to promote to Article of Faith and which firm belief without knowing the mixture of the deck. The Orthodox choices are a little bit more well represented in the deck as a whole. Okay. So now... Wow, those are going to be hard because this is going to describe Jesus as fully divine and truly God, but being of a different substance to the Father. Wow, that's going to be tough to deal with. On the 3rd day he rose again, ascended into heaven, and was reunited with the Father. He will come again in glory to judge the living and the dead, and his kingdom shall have no end. That doesn't sound too bad. But it's not a matter of degrees. Being close doesn't help. You have to get the exact correct doctrine. Okay. This one I could get rid of. The clergy, excluding bishops, should be celibate. Maybe I don't want that, but I'm going to use as many as I can. It says it's popular. It's got to have an advantage. What about here? I believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Lord, the giver of life, who proceeds from the Father, with whom he will be United. No idea which one sounds more easily passed. And I'm allowed to leave the customs out if I wish. Sure. We're going to make this an article of faith, because Orthodox ones are most likely to work. This sounds less committal. We don't have a lot of Orthodox beliefs. It's dangerous to put an article of faith late in your situation, because people will be hunting you if you're doing well. So I kind of like them to be close to the beginning. So I'm going to roll a die between those two. We must fill the firm beliefs if we can. And then we'll throw the popular custom in here. Now that's going to cost us a flock. So I'm going to put these here. These are going to get sorted out in a moment into a huge tableau of all the population that I control. I have to do the same with all the other players. And whatever their discards are going to get, yeah, I can't even pick these up, are going to get mixed in to there. You need wet fingers to even touch these cards with any tactile control at all. All right, I'll come back with what the effects of the different credos are, and also handle these after I reshuffle the deck, I guess. Well, I lied. I haven't been saying that as much as usual. Maybe because I haven't been doing progressive setups like this. But so I did come back. But it's because this guy has 2 of 1 of the Article 9. So this doesn't get discarded. This gets put here. And you can see he only fills out his firm beliefs. He gets to hold on to this so he can kind of convert someone else. That's a powerful and advantageous place to be. He's got a very, very orthodox holding of his beliefs there, which is kind of nice. With that much orthodoxy, you want to front load your early articles, although you may find out when you reveal, first of all, other people may not have them, and secondly, you may find that and I gotta worry about these flock. I had to take this Article 10, losing a couple of flock, because I have to fill all my firm beliefs. What you may find is that you look so strong that other people will target you. All right, I'll continue with more of the rest. At this point, I mean here, during play, the appropriate pile are discarded in the appropriate pile. The church deck only. There doesn't seem to be 2 different church decks, one for flock and one for offices, so I don't know. At least, maybe this card layout guide is not good. So, I've laid out my flock and my offices, and I've got some important folk like the Patriarch of Alexandria here. That'll be very useful. 20 votes plus 1 million flock. I've got a good flock card, but then they run down pretty low. And what you're going to realize if you've played both games, this is very much based on Nuclear, except that you don't kill the populations, you transfer them back and forth. But it's the same kind of attitude of, okay, you've got a handful of people, and then you've got really the event cards, which are more like your weapons. Okay. Now I have to lose a flock because of my Article 10, and I'm allowed to lose my weakest flock. And I'll be doing that with each of the powers, worrying about this. So this guy loses 2, but he has the bonus of no civil war. This guy has abstaining from lust from the flesh. He had to take this. Actually, I don't know if he had to. This guy had the option of it and didn't take it. I'm not sure why you would choose that if you had it, but yeah, it looked like a good idea comparatively for some reason to him. Maybe a memory of this one being good. I don't know. All right. May seem like an interesting dichotomy here. This guy's got a very low amount of population in his favor, especially after he dropped off 2 of his flock cards, but they only counted for 15,000. Just really low numbers, although he does have a couple of prefectures, which give him a lot of votes, a lot of people, and the emperor himself, which gives him 1 million. But what's kind of weird is this: the church must withdraw entirely from the world, until you start to think, hey, that's something the emperor would probably favor, actually, a lot. Except, well, maybe not, because already by this point, the emperors were relying pretty heavily on churchmen as their administrators. So, before we, I think... Yeah, before we make this deck, we have to play any play immediately cards. So the first player actually has one of these. I've dealt everything out. Play immediately on other charges from the Great Persecution. Informers prove your bishops apostatized under Diocletian. Lose 1 bishop and 2 flock. You get to play this against someone else. To make an informed decision about this, though, I need to know something. And this is what I'm going to have to do. You maybe wouldn't need to do this. Well, maybe it's best not to. I don't know. I keep debating this because, see, one of the victory conditions is, what, 11 million flock or something like that? Or 117 votes. So my feeling is I've got to keep running totals of what everybody has anyway to see if anybody's anywhere near victory. So I'm gonna I should score that before I make these decisions, and that's what I'm gonna do next. Okay, so when we left this morning, I was looking at this play immediately. Informers prove your bishop apostatized under Diocletian. Lose a bishop and 2 flock to hit with somebody else. And I just recorded all the values here. The votes. The number 1 player, the guy who has that card, has both the most votes and the biggest flock. Now that's making him the big bunny. In terms of people he wants to kind of schwack, well, initially, player number 2 looks like his best choice with 40 votes in this. But I ought to also consider what I'd be forcing someone to lose. Because they get to choose the bishop and the flock that they lose. So, everyone has 1-point bishops, or worse, that they could throw under the bus. So that's not very convincing. As to flock, this guy actually, well, this guy has about as much as anyone else. So I'm going to hit him. Because he's my target. Now, one thing I did, I added up all the flock that we have out there, and it's only 10,840,000, which is less than the 11 million you need to win. That's just to show you how hard that victory condition is going to be. You have to really dominate all the players and get some out of here, or something along those lines, right? Okay, we'll see how that works. But remember, this deck is only as big as what the players have, and there's bishops and crap in there too. Okay, so I'm going to hit him, and I can't think of a good reason. He's got the Eastern Emperor, so he's going to give up the Bishop of Aquila, who's a Western bishop, and 240,000 flock. We'll just mark that down on here for my records. So this goes down to 2460. And as far as I can tell, even the bishop goes in here. And that's a must-play card. That's going to get shuffled back into the decks. I've shuffled the decks largely already. My computer's a little ill, so I'm going to go check on it while it restarts. These cards would be held in your hand secretly, but I'm keeping them face up simply because it's easier for me to play solo that way. This guy also has a play immediately card or two. I guess he gets to choose the choice. Your bishop with the most votes is sent to the silver mines in Sardinia. Well, I guess that means discarded, right? And iconodules. Image worship is prevalent in your church. Draw one church display. Display this card. Display this card, I think, means I get to keep it up, and I'm going to put it over with my hand collection. My bishop with the most votes will be sent. Okay, let's draw our. Actually, we don't want to draw this first because we might get a bigger bishop. It isn't happening, but the Eastern Emperor is not a bishop. My bishop with the most votes is this 5-point bishop of Cyrene, so I'm going to lose him. And that weakens me even further. And we'll discard that one. And then the iconodules, I don't know, gets a church card. You know what? I think the church card gets displayed, not this. So he gets 50,000 more flock. And we'll add that here. And I'm keeping track of this in the thousands, simply because it's easier. So I'll discard this one, because I don't think that's a problem. We go to the next one. My computer seems to be acting normal. I'm going to do a virus scan on it. It did a check disk automatically. It's been having trouble starting up. I actually think it's a driver issue with my... I've had problems with my drivers all along. I got apostasy. Now, let me see. Do I get a recovery of those cards? No, I do not. I think something gave me a redraw, though. During play, I get a redraw if I draw an article that's already been done. One of your bishops announces he is a secret worshiper of the unconquered sun. Hey, that's actually something you can almost make the Christian church into here. Unless the doctrine marked with this symbol is among your articles or in your creed, lose a bishop. Oh. So I don't have this sun image here anywhere. So I've got to lose one of my bishops. Well, I'll lose one of my weakest bishops. I feel stronger in the west, actually, so I'm going to lose Philippi for a vote. You can see my votes are the weakest. My population is the weakest. Now I'll go to the last player here. I'll set him up. And he does not have any cards that are play immediately. So now I gotta stuff these in the deck and do some more shuffling, but I've done enough that hopefully 4 or 5 times through I'll work here. Alright. This guy over here took a big hit, and I think he lost the Bishop of Cyrene because he's the only one who took a 5-point hit. He could have prevented that, and he will, with the Emperor's Concubine intercedes. One of your bishops may return from exile. Whether or not you'd keep the exiles separate to remind you, and they could always be available, or if they just, that's a reaction type card, isn't really clear, but I'm using it as a reaction. Now, I'm shuffling the decks, and you can see I'm kind of in the midst of that. But once we actually start the game, there isn't a lot to play in this game, and you'll see that very quickly. I got this game because of some fond memories of one play, and I have this general enjoyment of games about religion and games about this spread and conflict of ideas, not just in religion, but also in conflicting institutions and structures of a society. So, in part, I had this kind of as a wish list for that, in part because it's kind of funny and fun what comes up out of it, but also with a little bit of an eye towards not so much completion, but having sort of a reference or some ideas of how this was done. I didn't really remember it terribly well. I remembered enjoying it, but not necessarily for the game. My buddy Nick, the three of us were playing it. Dave owned the game. Nick was more of a gamer. He's converted completely over to Euros for the most part. He used to be more of a war gamer. But he played it and had no interest at all. Dave and I were chuckling it up and enjoying, the Credo we were forming, basically. But I'll keep playing it through because I did want to offer the experience as well as get it myself. So it's like a naval war. It's like a nuke war game, like I've said before, but it's also kind of like naval war, except there's a little less game here. Let me show you what a turn consists of. It consists of drawing a card, looking at it. Okay, I've got an Article 2, which I can't play because I've got Article 1 and 2 unless I can refute that article. And I can't because that's my article of faith, which means I believe I have to discard this. And I think I get nothing for that. Yep, I get nothing for it. Now I have the option to play one of my cards. Most of these cards I don't really want to play until there comes a Grand Council. However, I certainly don't want to play the deathbed conversion because that's votes in a council meeting. Demographic change, however, allows me to draw a church. Why do I want to do this now? Well, because I've got a 50,000 sitting here. This might make me look more of a bunny. I already look like one. But it also might help protect my big flocks there. And it does not. It gives me the Prefect of the Orient, who will give me 5 more votes. Oh, I gotta return this to the 39. 5 more votes up to 48, and another 500,000 flock, making me even bigger and scarier. But that's okay. And now we're just going to start going around the table, everybody drawing a card, and seeing what they do. This guy has almost nothing. He has a replacement, which he could use, conceivably, if he gets a Church Father card. Article 10. Church must abstain from all lusts of the faith. I can't keep it, so I throw it out. Now we're over here. Article 6. He has one. It's not a match. He throws it out. And maybe I didn't shuffle too well. Huh? Who knows? Oh, I should look at his other cards. Does he want? A bishop renowned for his holiness may teach your doctrines to others or refute their error. And a bishop can attempt to convert other bishops into flock who have strayed. Well, as far as I can see, I can play event cards at this point. There doesn't seem to be a restriction on that. I'm not sure I accept that. I'm not sure I don't. There's no real limitation spelled out here as to which ones I should be able to use and which ones I shouldn't at any given time, except for maybe the line, players may choose to play any and all of their event cards at this time to affect the votes of other churches. But let's see what these might do. Church Father, one of your bishops renowned for his holiness may teach other doctrine or refute their errors. Now that's going to be, there's the refute table. where I can try to make somebody get rid of a faith. I might be interested in that, but I don't have any of the early articles until Article 3 yet. So let me wait on that until it might be useful to me for refuting. What about teaching? A church father can also teach if I have a duplicate doctrine, and I do not. Okay. So let's look at proselytize. This will give me a bishop and a role on the proselytize table. Now the reason this one's both, I can see arguments for why they would not be allowed during council, that you'd want time to affect the church decision making, as well as certainly with proselytize to affect their flocks and convert them over. But given the abstract nature of the councils, the fact that you hold a council and then you hold another and then you hold another, and they each only resolve one article of faith, and for the most part the 10 articles of faith were all decided during the Nicene Creed. Now they were amended 50 years later or whatever during the Constantinopolis council, but the Second Church Council, and that's sort of the Second Ecumenical Council, which I guess is sort of the gold standard. That's what most of the Orthodox religions actually follow. But what this game actually represents with the councils is hard to tell. To me, it almost feels like the whole game is the council, and the cards that come up with that are really calling the roll, and opening the debate up at that point. And it doesn't really work in any sense that you can really fit together. So anyway, I'm going to just hold these as I understand the rules to say, because they don't really serve me a purpose at this moment. So we'll go over to this guy. The Scourge of God. This I have to play. Attila the Hun invades the West. Prefects of Gaul, Italy, and Africa lose 2 flock each. The Patriarch of Rome draws 4 church. This is just, a random. So I'm going to be looking for Gaul and Italy, Africa, and the Patriarch of Rome. Okay, there's Italy, Africa. He's going to have to lose 2 flock. So that's 100,000 off him. Gaul, he's going to lose 300,000. Not many cards, but he has rich ones exposed. Okay. But now, let's look for the Patriarch of Rome. I think I have him kicking around. There he is. He's going to get 4 extra church cards. And he gets the Bishop of Gaza. These are just kind of at random. Can't pick these suckers up at all. There's 2, 3 more church cards for him. And I need tweezers to pick these up. I don't know if that'll help. 260,000 more people. That's not right. 23, 25. I may have to rewrite that. This is once only, so it gets discarded here. Just so we don't reshuffle it if we get through this somehow. I don't count on that happening. Let's rewrite this. And that's him. Does he want to do something else? Okay, he can teach a doctrine. I have an extra Article 2. I'd rather wait until we get Article 1 out of the way. Although maybe there's stuff that screws with this. Vote again on this article. Okay. So this is an interesting option. If the Emperor is swinging the vote, which might well happen with this guy with 43 votes. An interesting card. And I could proselytize, again, something I'd rather hold until it's time for the actual vote to come. And to tell you the truth, same thing with Church Father. I don't have to do that during my turn, right? I can wait until the council happens and try to convince people and sway them then. So we keep going. And he gets a proselytize. There's really no reason to play these things until you get the meeting. Article 6. I've got a bonus extra copy of that. That's cool. Article 10. Got to throw this. And a really fast card, a really fast game here. The empire is divided against itself. If you have a secular, you may attack another church which has a secular. The one with the greater flock wins and takes all the losers' seculars. Okay. Do I have a secular? I do not. So I'll hold on to this as well. A card like that might be worth playing ahead of time. When you see something like that, you say, "Oh shit, man! My action could have lasting effects on someone else." All right, we're going to take a little break here since I put breaks in anyway. I don't know how I'm going to cut this game to anything other than just drawing cards and looking at them and seeing what happens. Secret Gospel of Mark. This heterodox book supports the doctrine marked with the symbol. If you hold this doctrine, gain 5 votes at the council voting on it. So this is a one-user, and it's interesting, but there's nothing I can really do with it. This is just a bishop on there. That symbol doesn't make any difference to play. Article 3, who appeared in our land. I don't have this one. So now, I believe I either have to take it immediately or discard it, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look and see who else has Article 3. No one has, oh no, this guy does. So he has the Orthodox. I don't. In terms of votes, I have more votes than him, but I don't know where other people are going to go. I'm behind in terms of this. It doesn't cost me too much to put it down. So I'll place it as a customary practice. Because who knows? Maybe I can do some horse wheeling. Horse wheeling? Horse dealing. And we'll keep drawing. Another Article 3. He has a backup of the Orthodox. That'll be useful in terms of convincing someone else to vote with him. Exile to Upper Egypt. Secular may exile a bishop in his part of the empire, or bring any bishop back from empire. Well, I don't have a secular. I'm kind of waiting for one because of the Civil War as well. Article 6 over here. I don't have an Article 6. This is the Orthodox version. This guy has Orthodox. This guy does not. This guy doesn't have either. But with our votes, we can probably pass it. I'd rather get the advantage along with him, maybe. He's got it as firm belief, so he would get 2 church if this is passed. Whereas I'd only get 1 as a customary practice. I think it's better off I discard this rather than take it. Hard call, because I could get an advantage on everyone but him. But I feel like that's going to be difficult. I'd rather not have him gain a church card. Okay, so he gets an opposing article, which I believe he just has to discard. Yeah. over here. Apostle to the Goths. You may convert invading Goths to your church using your Gothic edition of the Bible. Display this card. Yeah, I think that other card that I was supposed to display was supposed to stay out. I don't know. It's gone away. I'll hold on to that in case the Goths come. Exile to Corsica, secular. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Show of Unity, play immediately. A general council must be called immediately. You know what we haven't been doing? The Emperor hasn't been calling general councils. But he's kind of afraid of it. Because right now, there's 2 people voting for Article 1 there, 1 voting for the Article 1 and 2, and then this guy will be the tiebreaker. Let me try to figure out whose turn just went. I think it's on him. Okay, so he just drew the Show of Unity. We're going to have... Yeah, I should have been considering... Because that's the one thing you can do. You can call a council. If you have the lead in the votes, and this is why the game's kind of weird in 3, because one person could actually more or less dominate the table. What I found when I was playing it was I was kind of in opposition to the other 2 players on most issues. So they were willing to pass a whole bunch of articles and just screw me over early. I think the 4-player dynamic gives a little bit more richness to that. Article 1's up for bid. And now we get to the interesting part, which is everybody under the eye of the Emperor, who's going to run the issue, gets to play cards and do stuff. Now, the Emperor doesn't have any cards to do anything. But here, this isn't going to help me because I don't have that article. I have 5 extra votes for this. I'm going to hold that to see how things go. But a bishop can convert other bishops or flock who have strayed. So I'm most worried about this guy. He's got the Article 1. I'm going to try to proselytize him. And we're going to need cards or dice for this. We're going to use, if you are familiar with me, I pick dice by the game. I feel like my old Avalon Hill dice go best with this. Okay. So I roll 2 dice. I get to pick a bishop. It doesn't really matter which one I use. So I'll use Militus because I think he's my weakest. I get an 8. The good shepherd giveth his life for his sheep. Take 1 flock. So I steal a flock from this guy. Now, I believe I'm allowed to take the biggest flock. It's my choice which one to take. So there goes 1,000,000 flock out of... Now, this doesn't help me in terms of votes, but it's a pretty good thing. 1,000,000 out of player 2. I was hoping to get a bishop. We're getting a big jump on the flock. Now remember, flock is the victory conditions for this. The Credo is acceptable anyhow, but the different flavors of the church get, the Credo, it doesn't indicate that one player becomes a heretic or not. The heresies are going to be stamped out largely. Okay, so... He doesn't have anything to play. These aren't really... He's got the right to proselytize, but no real interest in doing so at this point. He could play with doctrine. I believe in one God. I don't have another there. I could try to proselytize someone. I like the Emperor's position on this. He's got the Orthodox position, as do I. So I am going to proselytize against our leading player here, with one of my bishops. I will use Nisbis because he's pretty damn valueless. Although he is immune to stuff. I get an 8. I get to steal a flock. I take that million people. Yeah. Okay, so that goes over to 4. So we're back down to 40, 50. I could have just crossed it off. 35, 85. We're good so far. Okay, let's look at the votes. So, players 2 and 4 are stuck throwing their votes in the I believe in one God. And they have a total of 37 plus 39. Here, I've got a total of 79. If I could convince player 3 that it's in his best interest to support the guy who's winning the game, me. And I take a big hit losing my Article 2 here, although I can replace that at some point. I believe in 2 gods, one good maker of all things. Yeah, great. So there's not a lot I can do in his favor. There's not a lot I can promise him. So I'm afraid that... Oh, I've got 5 extra votes in this from the play immediately, which is one reason the Emperor may want to call the things. So I've got actually 53 votes. Can I ooze any more out here? The deathbed conversion could get me up to 58, but I can't face 2 people, and probably this guy. He has to vote, and I don't think he's going to commit to the leading player. So, we end up with the Orthodox I believe in one God. I can get rid of this. The problem is I would like to be able to record how happy people are with something. So that'll go here. I'm going to record how unhappy he is with his article of faith being gone. And now each of these are going to get +3 church, and he's going to lose 3 church. The 3 he gets to lose, see, it doesn't say flock, it says church. Let's see how those are supposed to be handled if I can just throw bishops off, because they're not victory conditions, or nah, it's listed as flock here. And if you're out of flock, you can lose bishops. Okay, so I lose another 300,000 people to here, which drops me to 3750. And let's draw 3 for him. This is all absolute articles of faith in this one. Let's get rid of this one. I didn't see it, although it was the top one. So I get a big bishop worth 5 votes, which puts me up in the running. And I get some shielding for my big votes there, another 60,000. Now that shielding doesn't necessarily work when somebody else can take 1 million votes from you, right? And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the way it's supposed to be. And this guy also gets 3 cards. Now you may have seen what the first one was. It's that 500,000. I have some 760,000 additional votes. What's worth 5 votes? Oh, the 25,000 here, gotcha. Okay. So I had said 760, 800, 43, 45. So now this guy's actually in the lead in terms of total flock, but because he got some nice big draws here and some garbage he can throw away later. But he's not in the lead in terms of votes. However, voting is generally by pairs, so if he has sort of alignment with other people's positioning, he'll have an easier time. Let's take a look at the Emperor, who's going to be going next. Well, he needs to draw a card, and we get rid of this Show of Unity. This is not a one-time card, so we put it here. Gothic Invasion of the East. Play immediately. Set aside Eastern Emperor. Each church with an Eastern secular loses 2 flock per secular. Okay, well, we lost our opportunity to call. Now, is there a Western Emperor yet? No. Okay. Each church with an Eastern secular loses 2 flock per secular. I have 1 Eastern secular, so I have to lose 2 flock. There goes 200,000 of my people, and those are probably killed. I have 1 Eastern secular. I lose 60,000 people. I'm going to convert the Goths. That's, I think, what this 50,000 people is. But do I have any Eastern seculars? I do not, and he has no seculars whatsoever. So I just got 50,000 people off that card. And I'll add them to my flock. Alright, well, I no longer have an emperor. I don't know how a set-aside emperor comes back. So oh shit, you know, that card that I saved somebody with? Exile is something specific. He wasn't exiled. Oh well. The bishop remains exiled. He doesn't get to vote. He doesn't get to fight. Oh well. So I'm not entirely sure what happens with the set-aside emperor, but I think we just don't have one. Maybe something will bring him back into play. We'll see. So we just took care of him. He doesn't get anything, and we don't have another church council available. I was considering trying to run Article 2, because only two of us have it. It would automatically pass. This guy over here gets Article 6. No good. It's not the same as his. Up here, Article 2. Okay, we've got another Orthodox version of Article 2, and I can hold on to that. I've got a whole pile of them. I could convert everybody to Orthodoxy, but I don't feel like I need to because we've got the majority, don't we? I'm at +6 here. He's at -4. So yeah, we have the apparent majority if we can get this voted on. Now, the actuality maybe not because of the deathbed conversion. Except, no, we don't. We lost 20 votes and 1 million people. Seriously? That's not right. I must have missed that million, right? I have 1,250,000 here. Well, maybe we need to recount everything. We've worked our way around the board, so I think I'm going to put this over here to remind me whose go it is. And, Yeah, we'll do some recounting. Okay, all my votes were correct, but my numbers here were all messed up. Largely not counting some of these or something, I don't know. But every single one of them was off. So now our total looks like it's over the 11,000, which maybe it was before, maybe not, I don't know. So we're back here, and we got problems. Circumcellions, the poor and dispossessed, see your church as a means of social redress. If you have no seculars, you may attack another player. This is done with the one with the greater flock takes 2 church from the other. That's church, not flock. So I could take seculars with that, but he's got seculars, he can't do it. He can't be too dispossessed if he's got the government in his hands. Article 7. All right, do I want this? He suffered, died, and was buried. He suffered and was buried. Died. No one. He suffered and was buried. I don't think I can get this passed. This is so hard because, you kind of want to throw something in, but it's late in the game. Hard call. Do I want this in my hand? Do I want this as part of my tableau? Certainly not as an article of faith, I would think. It's too risky. It would be awesome to be able to beat someone out with this, though. But I have so few votes now without the Emperor. If I had the Emperor, I would feel pretty willing to chance it. I'll give myself a slight chance of keeping it. Nah, I'm going to ditch it. Okay, we go over here. Icon nodules. Draw a church, display this card. I'm going to leave this in his hands because I think that's what it's supposed to be. I draw a church, he gets another bishop. I think this is supposed to stay out. I think it should have before, but we'll put it over here to help things stay in line. We'll go over to the last guy, Article 6, who appeared as a man born of the Virgin Mary and was crucified under Pontius Pilate. I could take this. The Nestorian version is in opposition. The Orthodox is sitting over here, but he's weak. I think we've got a pretty good chance of getting this passed. I'm going to promote this all the way to an article of faith. We don't have very many votes. See, the problem is this guy's version might get their support instead because he's doing worse. I'm going to take this, though, as a customary practice instead. I don't have to fill it into my article of faith if I acquire it during the game. Obviously, I could have just discarded it as an idea. And we're going to take a little rest as the voices go and stuff. You know what? I think we've worked far enough to call this the first video, actually. So we'll send this up.